What's up, guys? Welcome to Twisted Conversations. I've got a new guest on here today for this episode. His name is Austin. Go ahead, Austin. Let's hear your story.
My story, Dylan. My name is Austin, as you just mentioned. I am a deputy chief for my local fire department, and I am an EMT for my local EMS agency. I'm not going to call myself an avid outdoorsman, but I enjoy being outside a lot, and a closet nerd. I like a lot of nerdy things. A lot of people don't really know that about me, but pretty nerdy, I feel.
I agree on that.
Yeah.
I agree on that.
Yeah.
So how long you been in the fire service?
15 years, almost 16 years. It'll be 16 years in January.
I just realized today I'm coming up almost on a decade.
It goes by fast, but you always find somebody that's been doing it longer than you, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Always something new to learn.
Yeah, man. You can't learn enough, and you always have to keep your training up, and it feels like you're just in class and doing that kind of stuff all the time. So it's keeps it interesting. But I mean, you do it for the people, so it is what it is.
For sure. Yeah. Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
I did. I ate my weight in broccoli casserole. My aunt makes some broccoli casserole, and it's my favorite thing that she makes, and she always makes like an extra pan for me to take home and everything. So pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot.
I made broccoli casserole too. I used my grandma's recipe. I'm not as good as her, but I've kind of crafted almost as good as her.
Now, something very controversial about my family Thanksgiving this year is we did not have any deviled eggs, and nobody made dessert, so we didn't even have any pie or anything to eat after the meal was over with.
We had store-bought pumpkin pie, wow. And I pretty much just ate it all by myself.
I pretty sure I come home and ate a bowl of cereal after I had Thanksgiving dinner just to have something sweet. So,
did you have anything else besides turkey?
Yeah, had some ham. Just normal Thanksgiving food.
Sweet.
Yeah, sweet. Pretty good.
Well, Thanksgiving means deer season.
Thanksgiving means deer season. You're right. That's been another adventure. It's been a long 2 weeks for me, setting out in the woods. I either have really bad luck, or I'm chalking it up to this drought that we had that's kind of making things slow. So yeah, I'm struggling. We still got 1 day left at the time of this recording of this podcast. We have 1 day left.
Yeah.
And I'm going to wake up early tomorrow morning and try it again, I guess. So
tomorrow evening I may join you.
Okay.
That's just another thing, like public land. It's going to humble you, don't it?
Yeah, public land for sure, man. A lot of people are out in our local WMA, our wildlife management area that we have here. You got to get there early because there's probably going to be somebody wanting to hunt your spot. So you have to be careful, especially ours because it's so small compared to most WMAs. So you
a lot more flat land too.
A lot more flat land, and if you want to get anywhere good, then as well as I do, you gotta take an adventure.
Yep.
You gotta walk a mile and cross a few creeks and go up some big hills to get to the good spots.
A lot of big hills.
Yeah.
Makes you wish you did cardio.
Every year during deer season, I think, man, I'm going to start working out and I'm going to make myself in better shape come next year. And then I don't. And then I remember my plans first day of deer season. I wish I would have, I really wish I would start working out.
Halfway up a hill on the second shelf.
Yeah.
Catching your breath.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, with deer season, really, after that, there's just fishing again. You do a lot of fishing, don't you?
I do. Well, I did. I wish I fished a little bit more these days, but I used to participate in kayak bass fishing tournaments and spent a lot of time, especially like during COVID and everything, fishing then. Actually qualified for the kayak bass fishing national championship back in 2020, and they canceled it, so I wasn't able to go. We were going to fish for like $75,000 or something. It was on Lake Gunnersville in Alabama. I was really excited to go.
When did they cancel that? It was because of COVID, right?
Yeah,
I got you. I've been down there. It's quite nice, actually.
Actually, I qualified in 2019. I was fishing to qualify for the 2020 national championship. And the national championship was in April of 2020, and that's literally when COVID took off. So, like, man, I sold guns and worked a bunch of extra shifts at work and everything to try to, like, save up the money to get my entry fee. And just basically, you know, it got canceled. I lost it all. So it was,
Yeah, that sucks.
yeah, still upset about it, to be honest with you. I really wish I could have went, but I mean, there's always a chance I could qualify for it again.
I went down there in November and got on some big catfish.
Yeah,
I caught a blue cat, like 66 pounds.
man, I can't imagine what that feels like on the end of a fishing pole, dude. That's got to be insane.
Oh, they take the down there. Those catfish don't mess around. Like when they rip the rod, they rip the rod. I mean, it's nothing but drag. I don't care.
Well, but you know me, like, I couldn't catch a catfish out of a barrel full of catfish. I don't feel like so. That's
I think with a little bit of practice, I think you'd be a lot better off.
yeah, I think so. Maybe
We'll get you there.
yeah, eventually.
I remember one time we had you catching a fish and the reel just broke and the handle fell off.
Yeah, and I said, hold this really quick, and I grabbed my line and I started running backwards. Never got that fish in either. So I'm gonna say it was probably like a state record or something that broke my rod and reel and I was able to get it in.
It's always a state record.
It's always
It's a state record, especially the stumpy catch when
It was
you're like
probably
jerking a bait across
It was probably a rock. You're right.
Yeah.
But hey, I wanted to tell you that I'm a huge fan of your podcast, man. Like, as of this recording, I have literally listened to every single episode you've put out, and
Nice.
I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm a super fan, I guess you could call it.
The first episode was a success.
It was very good. I very much enjoyed listening to Sexy Steve or whatever they call him.
Sexy Steve, him and his brother, Vitamin D, they got the world's sexiest podcast on Spotify.
You know, I've seen Steve in real life, and I really question how he got that title.
Yeah, I don't
Sexiest
know where the whole
entertainer.
sexiness part came from.
I don't know, but
He's got an aura about him.
yeah. Steven, he doesn't know a stranger.
He doesn't.
He's a pretty cool fella.
He is. He's got a, I should say, he is a jack of all trades. He does everything.
That's true. That's very true.
He does music. He can do really good computer editing, which he helped me in my first episode doing some editing.
Steven and I was actually in the band together in high school.
Yeah, he was a drummer.
Yeah.
I tried to do band. It didn't work out. I played trumpet for a little bit.
Most people say that they like high school was the best years of their life or whatever. I don't want to go back to high school ever because, I didn't have a great time.
Yeah.
But I feel like the marching band was literally like my favorite thing that I ever done in high school, and I don't regret it at all. Like, it was awesome. I loved playing music, and I loved playing music in front of people, and I would go back and do it again in a heartbeat if I had an opportunity to. Sure.
Yeah, it's definitely definitely an experience. I mean, I played sports, but I'm not saying I'm an athlete, going to be a Hall of Famer, but I enjoyed it, They got me out of the house doing something.
I mean, I golfed in high school. I did all the nerdy things, I guess. Like, I golfed in high school. I was in the band, did all that. And I tried to wrestle, and my extent of my wrestling career was looking fat in a singlet and just going out in the middle of the mat and basically laying down and getting bent and getting up and going to find a concession stand to get some lunch.
Yeah, wrestling's is something I never attempted to do.
Yeah, I wasn't good at it, but it is what it is.
This year makes 10 years I've been out of high school. How long you been? You're only a year.
No, let's see. I graduated in 2012, so that would make this.
I was 2014.
So this was 12 years that I've been out of high school. Wow, that doesn't.
It don't seem very long.
That is insane. It feels like yesterday that I was graduating.
Yep.
And I tell you what about high school, and this is something that a lot of people probably aren't going to pick up from our conversation that we're having here. But back whenever we were kids, I wasn't a big fan of Mr. Dylan Perkins over here, and me and him didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. I think it might have stemmed from whenever we were kids and I was riding a bicycle in his neighborhood and he shot at me with a pellet gun and it dinged off the frame of my bike. And ever since then, I wasn't a big fan of Dylan, but after you graduate high school and you grow up a little bit and you start, learning who people are and hanging out with people, your mindset changes. And,
Yep.
And you never know. Like, so, I mean, that's a lesson to all you kids out there that's listening. So be nice to everybody. Just be kind, because, your enemies might start a podcast one day and they might invite you to be on it. So,
You give it 2 to 5 years out of high school, you figure out who the genuine people were that you graduated
honestly, you really do, because my graduating class, I was friends with a few people in my graduating class, but I wasn't like, popular with anybody. I ended up, meeting people out of high school that I never thought I would hang out with. And,
Yep.
You meet a lot of older folk and you start hanging out with them, and yeah, life's weird.
Yeah.
Life is weird.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't popular in school, but there's probably like 5 or 6 people I still talk to that I graduated with that I still consider be close with, but I'm still friends with a lot of other people that I run into every once in a while. A lot of them don't live around here anymore, so.
Yeah, that's true.
But, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't mind going back to school for at least a day, experiencing high school again.
If I could go back and know everything that I know now, I would feel like I would succeed.
Oh, yeah.
I would go back and tell that teacher I didn't like what I thought about him, or I would, take a few. I might pay better attention in some stuff.
I'll be honest, I was lazy in school. I did whatever I could to float by and just get out of school.
Yep.
And that was like my senior year. But remember when we had to do the senior projects?
I remember senior project. Yes.
I had to do a senior project, and if something does not interest me, I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And that grade for the senior project, pretty much, if you succeeded at it, you were passing.
Yep.
If you did it and you just didn't want to do it, you were failing English that year.
Yep.
And there was a couple months went by, and everybody was working on it for a year. And it got right around wintertime, like right in the middle of the year. And they were like, "You haven't done anything in your project." And I was like, "No, I didn't really care." To be honest with you, I was like, "I'll throw something together to get by."
Yeah.
And I eventually was like, "Look, I'm not doing any kind of professional study or anything like that. Like, I'm not going to go and sit at a desk, and I'm not talking about that. I'm just not going to, because one, it's boring."
Right.
And so I decided, which I asked them, I wanted to do mine on being a catfish fishing guide, like where I take people out.
Sure. Yeah.
And they kind of were puzzled by what I wanted to do, but they said, "Do it."
Yeah.
So this was like a decade ago. They're really, bass fishing is the big thing. Like, it's on TV, everybody sees it.
Sure.
And you just don't see that on TV of people just catfishing.
No, you don't.
You don't. Bass fishing has a way bigger revenue stream.
Especially back then, because, YouTube was a thing back then, but it's nothing like it is now. Back then YouTube was just, funny meme videos and that kind of stuff. You didn't get on YouTube to watch fishing or whatever. So yeah, absolutely. I 100% bass fishing was the big thing and very popular. So yeah, I can see why that probably confused them. My senior project was on the military, because I thought I was gonna do that because I had a family member in the military, and I got to follow him around at work and stuff one day. That was really cool. But I thought that's what I wanted to do, but I ended up being an EMT straight out of high school, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
Well, I mean, that's more like front lines. That's the front lines at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's a good way to look at it, I guess, but I've been doing it for so long it feels like it's just another thing for me, I reckon. But
I done mine on being a catfish guide, and when we were getting back to it, there's not a lot of stuff. It is hard to really Google stuff about just catfish. So I had to go through a lot of my own knowledge, and then the little bit of stuff I can scrape by with on the internet, I did. And I can't remember how long. Do you remember how long you were supposed to talk?
I think you needed to speak for like 5 or 10 minutes on a topic.
I think it was longer than that.
It might have been.
I think it was like,
it's been 12 years ago for me.
It was like, I think like 30 minutes you had to talk about it.
I don't.
So growing up, I had a guy down the street. I'm not going to mention his name. He's been pretty special to me throughout my life.
Sure.
This dude eats, breathes, and sleeps catfishing, and can tell you just about anywhere one of them fish live. He knows where it's at.
Yep.
And so I did this whole project, and from help from several different people with my friends, I took somebody out I went to school with, took them on a boat, never caught a catfish a day in their life. I had them catch 2 different ones within under an hour. So we documented that.
Where did all that go? Like, why can't you take me out and have me catch catfish like that?
Well,
that was your dream job, you know.
Well, we could, but right now I don't really have a boat. That's the next thing on the list.
A boat?
Yeah, so I need a boat. I got the truck. I just don't have the boat yet.
You spend a lot of time on boats, so I mean, you probably
not the boats that I want to have fun on. That's for sure. Those are just rolling jails on water.
Yeah, I hear you.
But yeah, so I did that. I wrote the report, all the paper, and a lot of people thought I was going to fail with this, but eventually I got everything together. I went down through like what all the species was, like how they spawned, what kind of different rigs and poles you could use, and I brought them into school.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy who just lived down the street, he took me out on the river the night before, and we caught every species the Ohio River has of catfish.
That's impressive in itself, man.
We did it.
That is really cool.
We drifted for blue cats.
Yeah.
Anchored up on some structure with some trees for flatheads, and a channel cat. You can get a channel cat just about anywhere, but we found one.
Yeah, you sure can, man.
You really can.
He's just to catch out.
They really are. They are the trash of catfish. But so he put them in a live well. We kept them on air, and right when I done my report, he pulled it to the back of the high school, and I got to bring the whole class out and climb up in the boat, pull out live catfish right there for him in my report.
See, that's really cool.
Yeah. I thought.
So you passed, right? Like,
I passed with flying colors. I'll put money on it. I had the best grade in the class.
I bet.
I did.
You know,
and I exceeded my talk time by like an hour.
Honestly, it's kind of that brings up a good point on things like you said before, bass fishing. You know, everybody knows what that is, and even back then, it was a very popular thing. And catfishing was just something that you would grab a couple poles and go down by the river, start a fire, and drink a few beers with your buddies.
Yep.
And that was the end of it. You know, people don't really know about that, and people don't know about it enough because I feel like, you know, a catfish isn't even considered a game fish in the state that we live in. Is it?
I believe it is.
Okay.
Because they have a commercial fishing ban. You can't. I would have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it's a game fish now.
I don't think it was at one point in time.
We'll have to Google it.
Yeah, we'll have to look that up.
We'll look it up. But speaking about a ban, they got they're really strict on commercial fishing here on the stretch of Ohio River, West Virginia and Ohio border.
Yeah.
And that brings up pay lake fishing. You ever been involved and been to a pay lake?
I absolutely have been to a pay lake back when I was a young, naive child with no black and white in my life. Everything was uneducated. Sure. You know, my grandfather, you know, back in the day, he was a big pay lake guy, big cat fisherman, but, you know, big pay lake guy, which I'm pretty sure back then it was a little bit different than it is now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I partook, if that's a word, in cat and pay lake fishing. And then when I grew up, I realized where those fish are going or where they're coming from, and the environment that they're going in, and how unethical pay lake actually is. And this is probably going to be very controversial, and some people that's going to listen to this is not going to like this conversation at all.
Oh.
But it's the truth, and people need to know. You know, there needs to be awareness on pay lakes.
Oh yeah,
and I'm not going to sit here and say that pay lakes shouldn't be a thing, because if they would get their fish, which we'll get into this,
mm-hmm.
if they would get their fish from, you know, hatcheries, or, you know, raise their own catfish or wherever, instead of the reason why they banned, you know,
there's a reason they did the ban.
Right, there's a reason they did the ban. So the way and where they get catfish at now is for pay lakes is
they're going down on the lower end of the Ohio,
and they're using like gill nets and
any way they could trap them.
And,
Really,
yeah, they're trapped. They're not catching them ethically, and they're pulling these trophy catfish out of the river.
that take years and years to grow.
Right. It takes a long time for a catfish to get big, just like a bass. You know,
Mhm.
a bass's lifespan, a nice bass lifespan is somewhere between 14 and 20 years. You know, like to catch a trophy bass is that long. So a catfish at that size is probably
Yeah, right around 20.
around 20 years. So
Yep.
it takes a while for them
At
to
least
reach that.
10.
Yeah,
At least 10. That's still a long time.
it's a long time.
But yeah, these commercial fishermen are going into the water and taking away from from nature, you know, the natural streams,
Absolutely.
and they're selling these fish by the pound, $2 to $5 by the pound, could be more. And these ain't just little tiny fish; these are fish that are exceeding 40 pounds, 70 pounders,
Mm-hmm.
and they're taking them for miles. They're taking them across state lines to get them to these places, and it's pretty much just a lake of death. They call it a lake, but it's basically just a shallow mud pit. It's like 2 to 4 acres, 4 acres long.
I've heard they put stuff in the water to actually make them.
They actually do. It's called juicing.
Yeah.
I got paperwork here on it too.
Yeah. So, you know, like everybody gets all up in arms about like poaching. And if you talk about going over to Africa and shooting a white elephant or a white rhino or some kind of rare animal over there, you know, there's people over there that literally go to war for these animals to protect them. But that kind of stuff, like you said, for catfishing it's literally happening here.
Yep.
And people are uneducated about it, so they're not as ticked off about it as I think they should be. If they actually knew what was happening and how it was actually working, then I think that people would actually be more apt to, you know, boycott these kind of things. And
Your average Joe that's off the street ain't gonna know
right,
a lot about it,
right.
because they're just saying, "Hey, it's some catfish." They don't know where they come from.
They don't know where they come from.
But yeah, they these fish they get so pressured into these ponds, and there's pictures of these ponds. They call them lakes. I call them ponds, but they have no structure in them. It's just a hole with water in it, and these fish get extremely pressured, and they don't want to eat. They just shut down, and it's basically what it's called is juicing, and they're taking copper sulfate and they're dumping it into the water, and it's a chemical. It's harmful. But allegedly, it makes these fish, as they say, that makes the lake on fire. It makes these fish eat. And also, from what I understand, is this copper sulfate will make these sores.
Yep.
And
I can confirm that, because back when I was a young naive child and I went to these places, I can remember catching catfish that had sores and stuff all over their sores and stuff all over their mouths and on their bellies and things like that. So it's wow, it's pretty upsetting.
Yeah, that's the juicing, that cup. That's that copper sulfate. So, like, that they dump around, see, like right here. We won't mention the place, but they lit a fire on the lake. It's going to make the fish fight better.
Wow.
They get these tournaments, and these people lined up around these ponds, shoulder to shoulder, and throwing these big, long, 10-foot rods out in the middle. And they won't admit to it, but a lot of them are snagging these fish.
Oh, sure.
I pulled them from the side and from their tail, and these pull these fish up, and they're just covered in sores. And then later on, you keep looking, these fish get smaller and smaller and look mangy and don't look healthy. And a lot of times where these lakes open, they're netting these fish out. They're floating around dead, and then they
Tossing them in a dumpster.
They go in a dumpster out in a field somewhere, and they dump them.
And they're so full of these chemicals and stuff that I don't even think that like birds will probably touch them. Because
Probably not.
They they're probably not eating them. And that's insane. That is absolutely insane. I mean, stalking and stuff like that is done. Our state does stalking. Trout fishing is huge in this state.
Yep.
And they raise them from fry. They genetically modify these fish. That's why we have gold trout, because they come from a rainbow trout and a brook trout, I believe. I could be completely wrong.
I think so. I'm not real big into the trout game.
But they stock them into our rivers and they thrive. And if you don't catch them out of there, I mean, they'll continue to live for as long as they possibly can. They're definitely not as hardy as a native trout, but they they can survive, and it brings a lot of money and tourism into our state, and it's a good thing, I think. So there's good ways to do this kind of stuff, and there's bad ways to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And just going out and snagging them out of the river and throwing them in a place to, chemically enhance them there's no sport in that. I don't.
There's not.
It's honestly, you could compare it to like high fence deer hunting.
Exactly, that's exactly what it is. Really, you're throwing them fish in a barrel.
Yes.
And I wish people would get a little bit better educated on this subject and go out where nature is. Don't go to those places.
Sure.
But if there was better ways to do a pay lake, for people that have special needs and handicap,
sure. Absolutely.
And if they bought them from fisheries and stuff and raised them the right way,
and
I would be all for it.
Don't do the whole juicing thing.
Yeah.
Let them eat. Well, we have a mutual friend that has that pond out by his old house where it's full of catfish, and he doesn't do this kind of stuff. He just feeds them pellets.
Yep.
And he's caught these catfish from other places, and I'm pretty sure they bought them from hatcheries and things, and then put them out there, and they just thrive. Because they're hardy fish. I mean, catfish will live in a puddle for forever. So
my captain that I used to work with on the river, he put a pond in his yard, and I think it was a couple years ago when he put it in, but he got these catfish at fingerling.
Yeah.
And he put them in. They come in the bag full, and he put them in, and he feeds them with pellets every day. And those things are like 5 to 10 pounds already. And there's so many of them, and they're healthy looking. There's nothing wrong with them. But these pay lakes, I just wish the DNR would crack down on a little bit harder. It's a money making gimmick.
There's not a lot of pay lakes in our state.
I don't think so.
I don't believe
Ohio. I know
Ohio has a lot. There's a couple that I can think of.
And I think
right around here.
Kentucky does, but I think Kentucky's kind of cracked down on them a little bit.
Yeah.
I have a thing here. Kentucky. Crowding led to catfish deaths in some pay lakes cited by Kentucky Fish and Wildlife. That was in 2023 of September. And it was 28 catfish pay lakes for violations after a 3-year investigation sparked by concerns raised by members of the public. There's so much proof out there on them that people just dig down a little deeper and look at it, they probably wouldn't go to them. But the average kid and stuff, they don't know. They ain't going to pick it up.
Sure.
And I'm not going to point a finger at a kid. They don't know the difference. But these people that are our age, that just doesn't want to get out of the truck and go walk down on a riverbank or a stream and trying to learn the activities these fish
because
that are anglers.
It's easy. And then you can, post your Instagram photos of the giant catfish you caught.
Yeah, with the swords on the side.
Right.
You can't touch it. It's in a dip net.
Yeah, exactly.
We won't talk about where it comes from, but or how we done it.
Right. Like I said, it's no difference than a high fence deer. I don't understand how somebody can say, oh, here's a couple grand, take me into the woods and let me shoot this giant unethically sized buck that has so many points hanging off of it can barely hold its head up. And
I was literally getting ready to say that.
It's just not.
They got their head down to the side trying to drag their antlers around.
That's why I enjoy squirrel hunting a lot.
And we do a lot of that.
We do a lot of squirrel hunting, and there's no such thing as a high fence squirrel. So
nope.
You you can't
high tree squirrel.
You can a high tree squirrel, and they can definitely get stuck in the tree. That's a different conversation, but it's something that those kind of things, they're something that I think our state kind of keeps regulated. And actually, like talking about diseased animals and things, there's a deer farm in Wyoming County that has CWD at it now. So, what happens next with around here? Where did those deer come from? How did they get?
You said it was a deer farm?
It's a deer farm.
What do you do with all them deer? Do you just do?
I don't know.
You just have to put all them deer down so they don't spread it?
Their body parts will spread it. You'd have to incinerate them, I guess, would be the only way to get rid of it. I don't know. And
put them in some kind of containment. Bury them.
Definitely. We don't have CWD where we're at now, thank God, because once it comes around here, it's going to be detrimental to our population. And a lot of places, you know, you don't even.
What does that CWD even start from? Is that from,
So-
like bad water, right?
No, so that's what they.
No, that's blue tongue.
That's blue tongue. Yes. So
Okay.
CWD is like it's like a virus that infects their brain.
Yeah, it makes them do that staggering. I don't know where they're at.
Kind of like zombified,
Yep.
and the way that it's spread is through like saliva. Like, you know, deer will lick each other, and you know,
Yeah.
they're, you know, social animals, and
They're doing deer things.
yeah, they do deer things, and that's how it gets spread. It's from, you know, basically like a transmitted disease in a human. You know, you spread it through bodily fluids and things, and a lot of places out west, you know, they'll test your deer after you kill it and see if it has it or not. And a lot of people don't eat them because they don't really know if CWD is safe. If a deer with CWD is safe for a human to eat. So
I don't even know if I would want to experiment with that.
I don't know either. I really don't either. I'm not like an expert on the subject of CWD, but when I've heard about it,
either.
I don't want it around here. So
Speaking of which, we both mutually know somebody in the DNR.
Yeah.
We won't mention their name, but I'm hoping to get them on sometime whenever they're here.
mm-hmm.
You know, visiting family. I want to talk about the elk that we have in West Virginia.
That's awesome. I think it's fantastic.
I think that'd be
Something like that, you know, that used to naturally live here, and now it doesn't. And our state DNR is able to, you know, start these kind of programs and managements to bring this stuff back.
Yeah, I voted for that too.
Absolutely,
I was
absolutely.
excited about
You
that.
know me, man. I'm not a very big government guy. You know, I'm not into that kind of sort of thing. But I believe that like things like our DNR and you know, keeping wild places wild and you know, public lands and things like that, I believe that that's something our government definitely needs to have a little bit of control over.
Yeah.
And they seem to be doing pretty well at it. West Virginia DNR, I'm not a big fan of West Virginia DNR about some of the things they do, but like Ohio DNR is pretty cool. I like the way that they work over there and the way that they manage their wildlife management areas and their parks and everything. I feel like they do a pretty stand-up job about it. But
They're cool guys too. I've met a few of them.
Yeah.
I've never had an issue with them.
there's no reason to be afraid of a DNR person.
Unless you're in the wrong.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean,
A lot of times the people that have problems with them are usually doing something they shouldn't be doing.
you're exactly right.
And yeah, I'm right there with you on the basically the taxes and everything.
Yeah, that's it.
DNR, you know, taking care of wildlife and making sure the kids can go to school, and firemen, police, and the EMTs get paid.
Yeah,
That's what I'm all about.
And you know, pave my potholes.
Yes, pave my potholes. Come on, West Virginia, do it.
Come on, baby dog, you can do it.
Yeah.
So, but that's
Yeah. But yeah, we were talking about the elk issue. Yeah, I'm hoping to have them on
I'm really into, man.
because it seems like they've been around it since the start almost.
I hope that at some point in my life, I am able to buy an elk tag in my state and go kill an elk in my own state. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't foresee that happening
Probably not.
very soon. Maybe,
Probably
I don't know, maybe next 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
But I'm just glad they're back in the state because at one time they were native. A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of the whitetail around here wasn't around our area. Like, you had to go to the mountains to hunt deer.
You know, I've heard stories from, you know, the older folk. I work in, you know, EMS, so I get to talk to older folk a lot. And I've heard that, you know, back in the day, they would go on a car ride and they would see a deer, and, you know, they would call everybody they knew because, oh my God, I just saw a deer. You're not going to believe it.
Yeah.
Oh, where'd you see it at? And they, you know, everybody go look for this deer. It, you know, over hunting and things, you know, people have a problem. A lot of people that I know have a problem with buying like licenses and regulations and stuff. But those licenses and those regulations have funded and helped control populations of our wildlife. and that's why we have what we have now.
Oh yeah.
Because if you look back in the day when Daniel Boone and all those people were here, they and fur was a big thing, and
Yep.
and Europe.
Yep.
Buffalo or American bison.
I was getting ready to say that.
American bison used to roam our the United States. There were so many of them, you couldn't look without seeing one.
Yep.
And overhunting and lack of regulation, killed out our American bison. So we don't want that to happen to our catfish. We don't want that to happen to our bass. We don't want that to happen to our deer or turkey or anything like that. So regulations are big deal, and something that we all should be happy to oblige by.
Yeah, the mankind almost wiped out the bison. There's a lot of pictures and stuff of just bison skulls stacked.
Yep.
Very high.
And then they took those. They ran out of bison to kill,
Mm-hmm.
and then the bone industry took off. They started grinding down bone for like bone meal and things like that. So then after everybody killed all the bison, they went out and collected skulls and bones and things like that to make stuff out of. And that's crazy that you can kill off that much of a population, that you can start a whole nother industry out of the remains of what you had before.
Money's the root of all evil.
Money is the root of all evil.
Yep. And everybody's going to figure out a way to get paid.
And
at that time, they didn't care about an animal.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of glad that we've gotten better educated and moved away from them practices.
There is a podcast that I like to listen to, and a man that is on this podcast sometimes. He has a thing that he says that I totally 100% agree with. He says, it's not ours, it's just our turn.
Yep.
So what he means by that is take care of it, because future generations are probably going to want to enjoy it just like we do.
What's the podcast?
That is the Meat Eater podcast.
It's a good podcast.
Steve Rinella, yeah.
Really good podcast.
The guy that says it's not ours, it's not our turn, his name's Doug Gurin on there. Pretty cool guy to listen to.
Yeah.
Knowledgeable fella.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's important that we keep track of all this stuff. Keep up with it.
Yep. Well, hopefully we keep on track and we can keep seeing these beautiful buffalo. But you're also big into the YouTube world, right?
Yeah, I like that one.
You like doing that when we were talking about Meat Eater and stuff. You're real big into bass fishing. You used to watch a lot of like the Guggen Squad, right?
Yeah. You used to be a big Guggen Squad guy. These days, since I've kind of slowed down on the whole fishing thing, I think it was a burnout thing, if we're going to be honest. Because like I said, where I used to do the tournaments and stuff, I fished for fun, and then the tournament thing come up, and I just fished because I had to.
Right.
And it wasn't because it was fun, it was because I had to. And I kind of got burned out on it. Yeah. So whenever all this burned out stuff started, the whole YouTube thing, kind of watching all these people kind of went away. But I'm still on their pro staff. I still get emails and text messages from them all the time trying to sell me stuff.
Seems like I got good bait.
I catch a lot of fish off Guggen baits. Yeah. Not to be a fanboy about it. And a lot of people don't like Guggen because of who they are and what they've done. But I catch a lot of fish off their baits, and good secret to keep, I guess. If you don't want to fish with them, don't.
I need to really desperately catch up in the world of John B.
Yeah,
that's a dude I used to watch all the time.
Back, I started watching him back whenever his YouTube name was JoJo Bars 33.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually supposed to be his password for his YouTube channel, and he accidentally made it his username. So, yeah, I watched him. He went to Hawken College.
Yep.
And he used to do real reviews and things like that. And those, infancy stages of these people were kind of better, more entertaining than, they are these days, I guess, in my opinion. But
I'm not throwing stones at him, but you get money.
Sure.
You're not going to fight as hard.
Sure.
I mean, they've already made their name. Yeah. They're well known. I still watch stuff.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
When you're out there, you're young and you're trying to be the best of the best. So you're going to make
you try really hard to try to get good.
They made top tier quality. They still do, I think. I like them. One Rod, he was really good.
Yeah,
I liked his videos the best because of one rod, one reel,
and a GoPro strapped
and a
to his
GoPro.
chest.
It was one dude.
Yeah,
And I loved it.
he quit. He quit fishing there for a while and started making stock exchange videos instead of fishing videos.
Dude's a genius anyway.
Well, I know, but he completely turned his whole channel around into to like a finance. Did you know that?
No, I did not know
Yeah,
that.
he
It's
did.
been a while. I see little clips. What is it? YouTube Shorts. I see YouTube Shorts and of course TikTok. I see stuff about him on TikTok every
Yeah,
once in a while. Heck, getting off the hunting and fishing. How about we talk about a little bit about the your fire EMS?
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like I said, I've been doing it for a long time, and it's a big part of who I am as a person. I've been doing it for a while, like I said, and it's I don't know. I don't honestly. Because I've been doing it for so long, it's weird for me to talk about it.
Yeah.
Back when I was young and dumb, and that was the thing. That's who I made myself. That was my whole personality. Was, oh, look at me, I'm a fireman. Thank me for my service.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Right.
And the older I got, I kind of got away from that. It's just me.
It's mature.
It's mature. Yeah, it's just me doing my. If not me, then who is kind of the way that I look at
It's
it.
a job.
Sure, yeah.
It's an honorable job.
And it's volunteer, and a lot of people have stuff to say about volunteer versus paid, but
yeah, well, what townships and are all these cities and townships going to be able to pay for professional
definitely
paid firemen?
Definitely not a livable wage. That's for sure. Nope. I barely get paid a livable wage doing what I do now as an EMT in my county. So
yeah.
I can't imagine getting paid by my fire department whenever we only run upwards of maybe 150 calls a year. I'm not going to make a living off of that. The small town that I live in definitely isn't going to be able to pay me for it. So it has to be volunteer. And if it wasn't volunteer, then your house is just going to burn down, or you're going to be stuck in that car, or you're not going to get any help. And it's these people that have literally volunteered their time and to not just their time to come and help you, but their time to keep up maintenance on the vehicles and go to the trainings and, really throw themselves into this kind of stuff that's going to help you. So
a lot of training,
just
a lot of work, and got a little bit of trouble every once in a while trying to get to those trainings.
Yeah, with parents and females and
yep,
and everything else. Yeah, for sure. You really get into it, and it consumes you, and it consumes your time. But it's a good thing. And the problem, nowadays is, back whenever I started, it was still semi kind of cool to be a fireman.
Yeah.
But these days, nobody really wants to do it anymore because, nobody wants to do anything for free. So it's a struggle, and it's not just my fire department. It's a nationwide problem.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's not enough staffing for these places, and young people are not. And I sound like an old man, but young people aren't joining and putting themselves out there like we used to do. So
there's too much technology anymore. I'm not old by no means, but
yeah,
I agree. From when I was in middle school and high school till now, kids have so much stuff that they can do.
Yeah.
And when I was in high school, I know a lot of people that was getting into the volunteer thing, and it was admirable in my opinion. And I don't know, kids today, they're all worried about being the next best Call of Duty player or being good at Fortnite or just
starting our own podcast and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. When I was in high school, playing video games and stuff was the least of my worries. I was out fishing, doing something interesting.
Absolutely. I spent a lot of time outside when I was a kid. A lot of time riding bicycles and trying to learn how to ride a skateboard. And
I was never good at that.
Well, neither was I, but I still enjoyed doing it. You know, we were outside. We had
Yeah.
video games back then, obviously. I mean, because video games have been around way longer than we've been alive.
Yeah.
But it's consumed people. It's caused a lot of, you know, people call it brain rot.
I've noticed
And-
it. I have noticed it in the last 10 years, especially like the river industry where I work is like, it just seems like every year these newer people coming along are just like, I don't know, like it's just,
They're afraid of hard work.
they're afraid of hard work and they lack common sense in
Uh-huh.
a lot of ways. And it's like, you can't be rude about it, but it's like, you're going to get yourself hurt
I
if you
don't
don't
want.
pay attention.
I don't want to blame video games on.
Yeah, I'm not blaming video games at all.
I will absolutely blame, you know, technology on that.
I'll blame technology and
Social media,
social
and,
media.
you know, cell phones, I guess. which
Cell phones are the worst.
I have one.
I'm so guilty of it. Then cell phone will consume you
Absolutely.
if you let it. And
because it's so, like you said, it's so easy. You can just stay at home and you have the whole power of the world in your hand, and you don't have to leave the house. So why would you? Why would anybody want to?
Another thing a lot of people don't like to talk about is people don't have a lot of good home life.
Sure.
Always missing a parent or something. I'm telling you, boys growing up need a dad in the house.
Sure.
Girls need a mom in the house,
Sure.
and it makes a family.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't get that guidance, you know,
Absolutely.
you're going to be lacking.
Absolutely.
And that's, you know, me growing up. I didn't have a father, but I had father figures
Mhm.
that
Absolutely.
taught me and stuff growing up, and it tries to make me a better father and stuff to my daughter.
Yeah. And you know, if you're one of those people that doesn't really have a home life and you don't have, you know, that kind of structure, join your local fire department. If you're of age, if you're 16 years or older, join your local fire department because
Yeah.
you're going to find brotherhood.
Yep.
And you're going to find people that will take you under their wing, and they will, you know, they'll be there for you, and they'll teach you the ropes of life, and you'll learn a lot of things.
Yep.
From these people, and it gives you a sense of belonging and makes you a better person in the long run. Just outside of the fire service, it teaches you how to actually be a person, and
Yep.
teaches you responsibility.
Gives you some structure.
Gives you structure. Absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't join when I was in high school. It was like 2000. When was that? 2016.
So yeah,
It was summer 2016 or like the early spring, and by 2017 I had my fire one, I think. Yeah, and then 2018 I got my fire two the same year I got my fire one. Then I went to officer 1 and 2, and wasn't too long after that I got a lieutenant spot, and I thought that was pretty cool. But I use that a lot for the younger guys, you know, teaching and being a little educational to them. I like taking the younger guys under my wing.
yeah, and I mean, even like in a job interview, if you're on a fire department and you go to a job interview and they ask you like what kind of things that you can bring to the table as an employee, you can tell them that you're on the fire department, so you're very reliable, and that you're a very trainable person, and that's something else that the fire department teaches you how to do is shut up and listen, and pay attention to the things around you and learn how to learn.
It also, in the heat of the moment, emergencies, teaches you to calm down a little bit.
Absolutely.
And I have learned that over the past couple of years, I've ran into some issues, and everybody freaks out, and you're usually the one calm person because you see it so much that you calm down. You're like, just slow down. The situation will be a lot better.
Yeah, that, and I mean, for me, it's also a curse after doing this for so long,
For sure.
is I am so numb to bad things that happen. I guess I'm not necessarily just bad things, but like things that would upset a normal person, and
Yeah.
I'm just kind of in the back, like, you know, whatever. I've seen worse, and I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. I honestly think it's kind of unhealthy to be like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. It's
A lot of that stuff will stick with you too.
sure,
And
yeah, it does.
there's a lot of first responders that deal with the PTSD and the trauma, and I'll never get into details or tell anything like that on here, but some of the stuff I've seen, I've always tried to leave it at the door, and I'll walk out of that
Yep.
station. And I don't try to take it home. I don't try to make that an issue with my family.
Yeah,
And sometimes people can't handle that. And
Right.
there is solutions and there's options and there's places that will talk to you. There's people in your own department.
And it's okay if you're one of those people that can't handle it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It is what it is. You don't have to
For
try to be
sure.
tough and stick it out just because some guy on a podcast you listen to told you to do it. But if you can't handle it, there's no shame in that game for sure.
Yep.
For me, growing up, my mother was actually a dispatcher for our county.
Really?
And so I could actually come home. I was lucky, very lucky. I could come home and vent to her because she, has been there, and we could talk about things, and it made my, days off and after call, life kind of easier because I had somebody to talk to about it.
Well, she would know too. That's a nerve-wracking job on itself.
Absolutely.
You get like big structure fires and stuff like that, and you get 5 and 6 departments or agencies involved. That's a lot of talking.
That's a lot of talking and a lot to handle.
A lot of listening, and especially in like Mayday situations. Yeah, that's a stressful job, man. I feel like a lot of people overlook those positions and don't think about them. And I'll be honest, a lot of them are underpaid. They don't get paid enough.
Yeah, I could sit here and talk about that for hours if you wanted me to.
Yeah.
How underpaid it is.
To be honest, if our tax money didn't pay them, you wouldn't have them. When grandma stubbed her toe and been sitting on the couch for 2 weeks, and it's a lot worse than what it really was. If you didn't, your tax money wasn't paying them, you wasn't going to be calling nobody, and ain't nobody coming to your house to get them.
That's for sure, man. That's for sure. Yeah, be nice to these people.
Yeah.
Move to the right when you see an emergency vehicle.
Oh, that's a big thing. Yeah.
Get out of the way and don't get all over Facebook and blast what you saw, and be respectful to these people, because we're people too.
Yeah, work normal jobs, have normal lives.
Yep. And even in my line of work now, I get disrespected a lot whenever I get on scene to these places, and it's like, man, I'm just there to help. That's what I'm here for.
And sometimes these people too, in emergencies, they don't realize it, and you kind of got to take it on the chin and go on. But
Sure.
afterwards, I think they realize.
Yeah.
And I've had a few people come to me, say they're sorry, but it's no big deal,
Yeah.
But they don't see the traumatic, they don't see the incidents that we see usually. It's not every day, but they don't see it like we do.
Right.
And people can't process that.
Yeah. Seeing something that a first responder sees more traumatic events in their life than the average person will.
Yep.
And, when you see something like that on the job,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to run the next call, you have to treat the next call with the same amount of urgency and the same amount of respect as you did the one that was actually,
You kind of got to forget the last one.
and you have to compartmentalize it a little bit, and you have to wait until you're alone by yourself or with a coworker or a trusted adult or somebody
Yep.
to release those feelings, and it gets tough.
Yeah.
It gets tough. So
What year did you start on the fire department?
it was either 2009 or 2010.
It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
Been a long time.
And whenever I became an EMT, that was my first. I was a driver for my local agency. That was my first real job out of high school, and I've done a few other things since, but I keep coming back to it because I love being an EMT for some reason. I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. But I've done it since high school, and a long time. So 12 years at least. I left for a little bit and did a couple other things. So if you add all the years together, it's probably looking somewhere between 8 to 10 years that I've been an EMT.
Yeah.
So it's
Before you know, it'll be 20.
it'll be 20.
Yeah.
And then maybe one of these days I can retire and
How much training do you got to go through to be an EMT? It's probably a lot, right?
well, so another soapbox that I can get on.
Go ahead, get on.
Back when I graduated high school and I took my EMT class, it was 3 days a week for 3 months, and then you pass a test, and then it was over with. But now, it's not over with. You still have to continue with training, and you have to keep up with your continuing ed hours.
Do you have to do a recertification or recert?
I have to do a recert every 2 years. I have to
I gotcha.
recert myself.
I got you.
The state that we live in, West Virginia, I guess
West Virginia,
we can call it. They were just there's a thing out there called National Registry.
Yeah.
And National Registry is basically just a broad class and a broad card that, if you have National Registry, then you can basically go anywhere in the state and work, or anywhere in the nation and work.
Right.
You still have to gain certification for that state that you're going to work in. But West Virginia was you were just a state card holder. When I took it, I was just a state card holder. And the state of West Virginia is actually pretty cool because we have protocols that we go off of. So any county or any agency that I work for in the state, all my protocols are the same. So I can work basically anywhere in the state and nothing changes. If I go somewhere like Ohio, one county might be different than the other county.
Yeah.
So National Registry kind of basically covers that kind of thing.
All right.
And I kind of blame the lack of EMTs and paramedics in our state on National Registry. Very controversial topic. Because it's so hard. National Registry is very, very hard, and it's kind of designed for you to fail.
Yeah.
Why do I need to know if I'm going to work in this state? Why do I need to be nationally registered if I'm just going to go off of my protocols? Back when I took it, I guess a better way to explain it. Back when I took it, in EMT class, they just taught you what your protocols are.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the end of it. So by the time you graduated EMT class, you were proficient in your protocols. And now I have to now a person will have to take the National Registry class, and then they have to get updated on the protocols on the state or the county or the state that they're going to work in. So if I'm going to work in West Virginia, why can't I just take a protocol class and learn what my protocols are and be done with it? And it'd be much easier, and you'd be more proficient in, what you're supposed to be doing here, instead of jumping through all these hoops to try to gain certification.
Right.
It's kind of confusing, it's hard to explain, but I think the state of West Virginia should just be, just a state card holder. I don't think we should go through National Registry, but that's a whole thing. That's a whole thing that,
Now, if they were just a state card holder, if I'm right, it would make it easier to get more people to fill these roles.
I believe so, yes, because the class wouldn't be as long, and you would just literally learn what's in front of you instead of the whole broad spectrum of things.
I tried to do it, and it was a lot. It was a lot to take in. Simply to
Right. It requires a lot of time at work. You got to be on your A game all the time at work, and a lot of training to even get to the point where you can even call yourself an EMT. And I'm not trying to say that they need to dumb it down at all. I don't want it to sound like that, but I think that if they made it a little bit more easier to obtain, then there would be a lot more people that would probably, want to do this job. And, another controversial subject is what, EMTs and first responders in the state are paid, which is a lot lower than, other places.
Yeah.
So nobody wants to go through all that training and then come out at the other side of it and not be able to make enough money to live.
Right.
So, the turnover rate is really high.
Yeah. That's to be expected.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, there needs to be more money, I think, for you guys with all the training and all the stuff, the crap you got to go through.
Sure.
But yeah, I just think it's looked over, and people need to be a little bit more appreciative, which I think a lot of people do appreciate you guys.
I do.
There's some. You're always going to have a few bad apples that just are always going to have something negative to say.
I worked through COVID, and before COVID started, I was just another person. And then when COVID was going on, people, we were all heroes during COVID.
Yeah.
First responders and nurses and all those people that worked in hospitals were looked up to like they're superstars.
Yep.
Because they're there helping, and they're without them, where would we be? And then after COVID was, basically over with, we went right back down to being scum of the earth.
Yep.
and kind of the redheaded stepchild of government and hospitals and things. So
Yep.
Yeah.
That's like the it's like the industry I work in. We push a lot of petroleum and coal, and stuff keeps the country going. And what was we considered during COVID? Essential employees.
Essential employees. Yeah.
I did not get no kind of layoff. I did not get to go home and sit around. And I don't know. I think some people it really affected. I was lucky. I got to work and got my bills paid, but it definitely made it hard on everybody.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We're recovering though. We're slowly getting out of that rut.
Yeah.
Still got a dent on us, but we're getting back.
Yeah, and I do want to say this. We're sitting here talking about how important we are in our jobs, but hey man, if you got a job and you get up and go to work every day, no matter what it is, if you work at McDonald's or
Exactly.
go to Walmart and work and push carts or whatever, whatever, it's good for you. Good for you. Everybody, somebody has to do it. So
You're working. That's the main
you're
thing.
working. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's you've hit the nail. But yeah, that's the this is the wonderful episode with our guest speaker Austin. I think it went pretty good.
Yeah,
Had a lot of interesting little stories and little topics we went over.
Went a lot better than what I expected to go, man. I
Yeah.
was a little nervous for
You
this.
just gotta talk. That's all you gotta do.
This is a very, very quick hour for
Yeah,
sure.
goes
Had a
by
lot of
quick.
fun.
Goes by quick. You guys, you noticed I have another co-host goes by Jason. He's not here today because he is sick, and it's depressing. But he will be here for a holiday episode we're going to be doing. This episode will air later this month. But yeah, I appreciate having you.
Hey man, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Can't wait to do it again. Hopefully one of these days.
Oh, I'll definitely want you back.
Yeah, man.
So I hope everybody enjoyed it. But yeah, that's the episode, and hope to hear all the feedback. We are on Spotify. We're going to be trying to do a YouTube channel next. But I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you on the next one.